I am going to call to order the September 9th meeting. It's not September 9th though, it's September 14th.
Number 14.
That's the date of notice. Sorry, that's the date of notice. But what I'm trying to read is this item here. Pursuant to Chapter 22 of the Acts of 2022, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed into law on July 16th, 2022. This meeting of the West Boylston Planning Board is being held by remote participation. And you all have the Zoom link and it's been posted appropriately. So we're ready to get started. Do we have any?
We do a roll call of who's here.
Oh,
That's
I
usually.
have not done that. I have not done that in
okay.
our old style of meetings, but
all right. I'm learning more as I get into it.
We can certainly do that.
This one makes it.
I guess maybe I'm gonna, so, and it's helpful for the meeting. So how are people doing it, Vinny? Are they just saying their full names for the record? And
members who are present say yes when I call your name.
Okay, so it's just about the members and not the whole
Yes.
of everybody. Got it. All right. So members who are present, say yes when I call your name. Frank?
Yes.
Vinny?
Yes.
Raj?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
And I am also here. Great. All right. Let's get us started then. Do we have any citizens' comments? Anybody here for something other than what is happening on the agenda? Excellent. That's wonderful. I do want to, as a citizen, welcome our new town administrator, Jennifer, who's here and joined us. So thank you for attending.
Oh, awesome. Hello.
Okay. So let's get started with Newhouse Circle. Mr. Ali, where are we?
Yeah, I had a talk with my attorney. My attorney decided that I can go finish up all the punch list. The punch list is final, which I'm planning to do it, and I can resign as a trustee if the people don't want to be trustee.
Okay, help me understand. I don't think I understand what that means.
I'm on the drainage trust, and
Right.
every house in that property had the drainage trust recorded before they bought the house. It was in the approval and it was recorded before. And if no one wants to get involved with the drainage trust, like last time we heard from the neighborhood people, I'm going to resign it. And I want an assurance from the planning board that planning board don't have any problem with it.
That'll be kind of difficult to do because someone's got to manage the homeowners association, and it has to be, things need to be operated. There's need to be snow plowing, lights have to stay on, it still has to be operated.
I'm going to resign as a trustee.
Well, but you still own the road. You're still the owner of the road, so you're responsible for all the utilities and everything that's in your road.
As soon as I resign my post with the drainage trust, I'm out of drainage trust. As per the road, I told you I'm going to finish up the road. As per the punch list was final punch list given by Wayne Amico, VHP. I'm going to finish that one, and I'll go for the acceptance. If the town doesn't want to accept it, I don't have a trustee. Town can plow it. I don't want to plow it.
It's the people. It's not the towns. But
it's not the people's. It's Mr. Ali's.
Right. No,
Okay.
that's what I mean. There's a disconnect.
It's not mine.
You, Jacqueline.
It is the company's.
Hold on, Jacqueline. Hold on. Let's just. So you are saying that you will just resign as the trustee. The trust will exist, but you are going to resign.
There.
You're going to resign your position.
Yeah.
And then nothing will happen.
Nothing will happen. And as far as the road thing is concerned and everything is concerned, I'll have a waiver that I'm not going to plow it.
If I finish up how do you get a waiver?
Can I finish it, Vinny?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
No, I was not done. What my attorney is telling, as per the drainage concern is done, if I resign the drainage trust right now, since it's on everybody's deed already before they bought the house, if they don't want to take the responsibility according to the deed and the planning board approval.
Oh my God. Oh, that's
And-
Ali.
So can you hang on? So can folks who are not talking right now, can you please mute?
Go ahead.
Continue. No, go ahead. Continue.
So I'll resign my position, but I'll finish up all the punch list with good faith, and I want to go for an acceptance. If the town doesn't want to accept it, it is holding in a company, not in my personal name. So I can leave the bond right now. I want some assurance from the planning board if I finish up the road work, and that if we don't have a trustee, planning board has to give me an assurance that you'll accept the road on the agenda.
Well, we can't give you that guarantee because it goes to town meeting, right? So it's not something that we can just guarantee for you because I mean everybody's going to vote on it. So, Raj, you have a question.
I do. So the homeowners association, what is your position now?
Actually, last meeting, we had a meeting.
No, what are you now on the association?
trustee.
Are you the president?
No, trustee. I think.
You are the trustee.
I'm the only trustee.
So is there any other members on that homeowners association?
No,
Nobody is on the thing. So, so then if you resign, somebody has to be on the trustees, right?
they don't have to because they have to take care of their responsibility, and the neighborhood people think they are not responsible for it because their attorney told them. So it is what it is.
I don't think
But
that's true. And I'll let Jacqueline tell us exactly what the reiterate what it was the attorney said. But I don't think that it is true that I think what I heard from them last time was that their attorney is saying that the deadline by which it needed to be transferred to them has been passed. So they don't have to do anything, which I'm sure is probably accurate. But that just still doesn't leave anybody in a very good position. Jackie, am I getting that correct?
Correct. I mean, Mr. Ali, in your documents, the homeowners association was supposed to be passed on to us by February 20th of 2020. So we are well past the deadline. I guess I reached out to you, planning board, and asked the question because Mr. Ali is making it seem as if he walks away, then we as the homeowners of New Haas Circle are responsible for the plowing and the electrical and the maintenance. We will agree that in our past in the homeowners association that we had signed originally, all it stated though was the drainage in the basin. There was no mention of road, no mention of electrical. So we are feeling as if we are in a tough spot and don't really want to form an association or sign any documents because we are afraid that we are going to be on the hook for the maintenance of the road and everything else because it hasn't been completed. That's where I think we're at right now. Again, we're questioning the validity of the document that is in place currently. I don't think that it has, we're just questioning it and we're not willing to sign anything more until more is done and more is agreed upon and promised to us. We're not going to be on the hook for, that was never the agreement for road maintenance, plowing, and any streetlights.
Sure. Okay, understood, Jackie. Raj, you have a question? Oh, you're on mute.
I think we are talking about two different things. The one is the homeowners association. So the homeowners association is there, but my understanding is, only one person on the homeowners association now is Mr. Ali.
Correct.
So he's been trying to get others to take over the homeowners association. So I was, we have been back and forth, they have sent it in, they didn't receive it, all those things happen. So,
And I think we still have the, right, Raj, there's the number 1 and number 2 new house circles still maybe remaining. Is that right?
yeah,
Correct. I mean, 1 and 2 are not a part of the homeowners association. Then you talk about plowing the road and the drainage and everything like that. And
I'm getting to the plowing the road. 1 second. The plowing the road is, once everything is settled down, and Mr. Ali has to ask the town to take over the roads. So when the town take over the roads, town will be the one plowing the roads.
But Mr. Ali was just talking about walking away and not.
Walking away from the homeowners association, not from the.
He just said he wasn't going to plow the road.
He still
Okay,
has,
okay.
he still has the
Hang on, Jackie, just-
responsibility of plowing and maintenance of the electric. The town is not going to take it
So,
unless and otherwise, if the town meets all the criteria standard of the roads, and also Mr. Ali has to file all the paperwork, the town, and then, the planning board will send it to the town meeting. The town meeting has to accept the roads. Town people has to say, yes, we are accepting the roads. We are,
so
the town will accept the road. That's the process. He cannot walk away just like that. That's my understanding. Somebody, maybe Vinny, you or someone else can correct me if I'm wrong.
That sounded appropriate. I think Mr. Ali had some comments or questions.
go ahead, Mr. Ali, because I actually think you may
Actually-
be saying that you just could walk away. So please continue.
No, I can walk away from the drainage association part because I can resign it, I told. As per the plowing and other section is concerned, I'm going to plow it. I'm paying the electric bill, but there's nothing wrong with the drainage. There's no reason for all the neighbors to get together. Every time we get one person with one answer. Instead of that thing, it should have a meeting with the association people. 1 and 2 are not involved in the association, so we shouldn't bother talking to them. We have 8 people, we have to talk to them, get them in association, select the people, have that thing in progress. So we'll have 2 people appointed. Right now, I can resign it and there'll be no one else to be responsible to do it as per the documents. And as per the document, how far is the subdivision good? Planning board has given extension all the time, and we have taken extension all the time. So all the approvals are still good with the planning board.
Well, I was going to ask that because the last time I looked at the meetings, I thought the extension was only until June 30th of 2021. There is nothing in the meetings that extended that any farther.
Raj.
No,
Oh, did you saw? Is
I
that from
don't-
before? Okay, your hand.
Sorry.
Sorry, your hand was still up. Go ahead. Anybody else who wants to?
Yeah, no, I'm not familiar. I don't know the dates.
No, it
of
was
the approvals.
extended.
We can look those
I
up.
sent an email to the planning board. It was extended. It was approved. Then I sent a letter for extension. As for Winnie's concern, we took care of that thing.
Okay, I'm just saying, I looked through all the meeting minutes from 2020 to currently, and the only thing I saw was an extension in the meeting minutes until June 30th of 2021.
This is for what? For the homeowners association?
No,
For the
subdivision.
performance.
Subdivision approval.
The performance agreement. I'd have to go back and look.
Yeah, I don't know the dates off the top of my head, but that's something we should look into. But this may be something to discuss with town council.
Exactly. So we don't know exactly what's what's all of those things,
There is nothing. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. So this could be one of those things for the town council. So what happens if the trustees resign? Only one trustee, on the homeowners association if he resigns. Who is responsible for that? This, we don't know, right? Did we ever, this never happened to any other subdivisions, right? This is the first time we are hearing.
Right.
So none of us are, in this board, except Mark is an attorney. He could comment on this.
So
Mark,
go ahead, Mark.
No, not an attorney, but isn't this the reason that we bond projects? Just in case the person who's, running the applicant doesn't finish the project, that's what the bond is supposed to do, isn't it?
That's right.
The bond's
That's
in
right.
place for the work to get completed, and the paperwork is supposed to have been done at the time of the approval or before the building permits were issued. So
Okay.
I think
just
we
want-
had all that in place. I think the homeowners association is in place on this one.
It
And
just
it's
needs
now
to be
just because
transferred.
it's dragging on is the issue.
Yeah, so I just want to give Jacqueline a little bit of assurance that this isn't a crazy situation. This is what the bond is for, so you're not going to do anything. You guys aren't going to all of a sudden have to pave a road. That's I
Right.
don't want you to worry that much about it. But Ali, I would encourage you to finish the project instead of letting us go to the bond, because I don't think the bond is adequate anymore because of the age, because we delayed and all that kind of stuff.
The drainage too, Mr. Ali hasn't pumped we haven't cleared the drains, or nothing has been cut down in the basin for the entirety that he's owned it. So I also, as a homeowner who's going to take that over, question the condition that it's in, that we are accepting to take it over.
Right.
I mean,
Mr. Ali, it sounds to me like where we're at here is that we need to get to the completion, and the homeowners, and I agree, like, let's leave number 1 and number 2 out of it at this point, because it's not, that held us up for a while. That's not going to happen. So number 1 and number 2 are out of it. You have the other homeowners to deal with in the existing homeowners association that is there. If you complete the work, they will take, I hope, Jackie, that you all will agree to take on the homeowners association so that we can all move forward and get to the street acceptance. Is that, but I think that they need to see some good faith, like, please come in and hit the punch list, clean the drainage so they're ready to go. And you have the punch list, like, so we're all on the same page there.
Yeah, that's what
Has Jacqueline seen the punch list? I mean, that might be some of the fears.
Yep, I have seen the punch list. I mean, once again, like, we've never seen a bank account, a statement of any kind. Mr. Ali hasn't stepped foot onto Newha in over 3 years to do any sort of work. So once again, we're kind of at this place of, why should we help you, Mr. Ali, when you haven't really helped us? I think what Ms. Miles is saying is, we would like to see some good faith from you before we do anything. And I'm just, Stephen and I are just one of the homeowners. I mean, I don't speak for everyone. I go back and I tell them what I learned from these meetings, but I can't make anyone sign anything.
Right, and I think that's one of the things that's happened, but it shouldn't go between you and Mr. Ali at our meeting. I think the planning board is here to kind of mediate and address this. Mr. Ali is working with us. We gave him a punch list. You've seen the punch list. I haven't gotten any comments that there are additional major items that need to be done. There's money in a bond to get the work done if Mr. Ali decides not to, but it sounds like he wants to do the work and he's willing to do the work. So now we just need to make that happen.
Well, and I had an additional question. If we take this to town meeting and everything goes according, to plan, except that it gets denied and gets turned, what happens then?
goes back to the developer.
Right, and it has happened where in the past there have been situations where roads are not accepted on the first try at town meeting, because usually there's an issue. Typically, everybody in town is living on a road that had to get accepted. And so they understand the process. As long as everything's built according to good standards and it's in good condition, there's no real reason for people to vote against it. But you never know how town meeting is going to vote. So it may happen that for some reason there's anxiety in the town meeting, they vote against it, then you present it to the next town meeting. It's not a one-time only issue.
Okay, I guess I just wanted reassurance that it didn't come back on the homeowners then after, say, Mr. Ali completes the work and then it goes to town meeting and then it gets denied, that all of a sudden we would be on the hook for it.
I think,
Well, I
so
mean,
how often has that happened?
I've never heard it. It has not happened when in the town of West Boylston that I'm aware of, where a town meeting usually votes on things looking for the best interest of the people in the town. So if we get to the point where we're presenting it as a town meeting warrant article, the townspeople expect it to have been reviewed. And that's why we're going through all the rigmarole right now to make sure everything is correct. So that when we go to that town meeting, people have confidence that this has been through the ringer and we're accepting something that's good and not something that's going to cost them a couple $100,000 in a few years. So that's why it's there. But I don't bet on town meeting votes in any case. You think things are going to go through and then for some reason they don't, but it doesn't mean that's the end of the line.
Right.
And if it
But
does not go through, the developer is still on the hook for it. And he also doesn't want it to go on for a long time. So we would make the application, make whatever corrections are needed, do a little more public outreach before the next town meeting, and then present it again.
Right. Like I think it's fair to say that based on past precedent, it's usually accepted and this isn't a huge worry. And so I guess I don't want to, I know everybody's already on edge about this project and as long as Mr. Ali has a lot of projects going in our town, right? He's got a lot of things going in the town. So Mr. Ali, it is also in Mr. Ali's best interest to complete and move on, right? And so I think that's our goal. Everybody's goal here is to complete this and move on and get to the other projects that he has in the queue. So I don't want to be terrified about this town meeting is what I'm trying to say. Go ahead, Raj.
Isn't it true that before accepting the roads, the catch basins, all those things need to be cleaned?
Yes.
Correct, right. That's on
Yes.
the punch list, right? It's on the punch list. It's
It's need to be
we
cleaned.
just
Yeah.
That's the last thing we
Goes
do.
to the town meeting. Because Jacqueline did ask, the catch basin and other things were not cleaned. Before it goes to the town meeting, it need to be cleaned. And, that's one of those things. And then when he submits the paper, all the paperwork to the planning board, the planning board would recommend for the town meeting. So normally when the planning board recommends, the town will always accept the roads acceptance.
Could I also suggest, I think a few of the planning board members had offered it in the past for the homeowners association, if you would like to transfer it, could we meet with the planning board and Mr. Ali perhaps at a separate time, just in order to ensure that everything is done accordingly? I'm sorry, did someone say something?
okay, go ahead.
I think it would be beneficial if we met at a town location and got input that everyone was on the same page.
Yep, that sounds like a good idea. When we had like Hillside Village and Briarwood, when we went through this for them, they didn't have their centers ready in the very beginning. They were still under construction. So we had them meet, or they met at the town hall at the time. I think it might have been when we were over on Hartwell Street.
Yeah, we did one Angel Brook too, right?
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, that makes perfect sense, and
Absolutely.
it would work out well.
That way we're not holding anything up, but making sure everything is done appropriately.
So I think we just need the, the documents prepared for the transfer, which Mr. Ali, I think your attorney should be able to prepare, right,
It's
for
been
the,
prepared already. It's been
Great.
prepared several times. That shouldn't be a problem.
great.
I think
So
I
it's-
don't mind. I think Jacqueline has a very good point because she's coming here talking about her thing, and no one is there. Every time if a new homeowner comes in and talks, and it will be a new thing. So it's better to have a combined meeting. I'm very open to meet anytime. If a couple
Great.
of planning board members are available, we can do it next week.
Well, I think though that what I'm hearing here is that the residents would like to see some of the work being done before they sign off on this, which I think
don't
is
agree.
fine. Well, but Mr.
Sarah.
Ali, there's no rush because I mean we're missing October, so it's gonna be May. So we're not in a huge rush right this second, right?
I got this thing. There's no rush, so let's do the work next year. I don't want to delay it. Let's rush it up, close the with the homeowners association, select a couple of people. If they want me to stay on the board with them, I can stay on the board with them. But
That's
as
how it
per the
works, but
drainage
keep going.
association is concerned, they are only concerned about the association to maintain the drainage after it's accepted the road. After the road is accepted, right?
Right, but it has to be in place and transferred before we as a town can, and the planning board can recommend accepting the road. So this is a piece that has to happen before.
Hmm.
And what because of the way things have gone so far, it seems like the best thing to do would be to get some action on some of the items. And I mean, it's only September, it's still warm out. Maybe there are some, what can we complete between here and when it gets too cold to do anything, so that they will feel good. They will feel like you have moved forward enough and feel like they can do it. So what I am willing to call the meeting and organize it, but I'm not going to do that until I get a report that some action has happened on the punch list. And once that is happening, then we will set a meeting time and we will work this out. You said your attorney has all the documents ready to go, so that shouldn't be a holdup. And we'll have the meeting at town hall. Does that sound acceptable to everybody?
Not to me.
So what's your,
So it looks like
no, Mr. Ali, what is your alternative? What would you suggest?
Looks like the planning board doesn't have faith in me finishing up the project. If this is the way, if the planning board is treating me, I had sent a couple of letters to one letter, registered letter to the neighbors. They didn't show up. Now they showed up, and now we want to have a meeting, come to an understanding, then we start working. If the planning board is not ready to accept that part, you want me to show some. It is my good faith. I'm going to come to the meeting, take care of it, and we have accepted a punch list. I'm going to do it. Otherwise,
Okay.
Can I finish it?
I hear what you're saying. Can
I finish what I'm saying?
But
No.
you don't have any, but you're not, I mean, like showing up to a meeting isn't really helpful. Like it's not really moving us down the road, and we're really
Okay.
trying to get to the completion spot. So I am going to suggest again that you start some work.
If
Make some
planning board
plans to
doesn't-
start some work. You have a punch list. You have a punch list. You have a punch list that's been agreed on. You've seen it. VHB has seen it. Everybody has seen it. The residents have seen it. Please start the work and we will hold a meeting.
No,
And
I
I
want to
hope,
give the
and
bond to the
I hope
town.
that to happen
No.
within
Sarah,
a
you're
month or
not
two.
listening to me. I'm just talking, right? I want to give the bond. Town doesn't have trust in me finishing up the work on Nuha Circle. I can give the bond then. Let the town finish it.
Vinny,
Yeah, I think we have two parallel things. They don't have to go one after the other. if we can get the homeowners association squared away, let's get that squared away. He needs to build the road to get the road accepted, to be not responsible for plowing and paying for the light bill. So that's in his interest to get that done as well. So if we can get the homeowners association established, they're not accepting responsibility for all these things until whatever the specifications are in the homeowners association. There's the work needs to be completed. They're not taking responsibility for substandard pavement. They're not taking responsibility for filled in catch basins if they haven't been cleaned. They're not taking responsibility for any of this stuff until it's been accepted by the road.
I don't know about the catch basins
Accepted
though.
by the town.
Is that true? I don't know about
I'm
the
pretty
catch
sure that's the
basins.
way it's worded, but we can check. We still need to go to town council to find out, so we don't go down the wrong path. But I think we can work them in parallel and make it acceptable to both sides and get the road done.
I thought
Go
that
ahead,
the homeowners association document only deals with drainage. It has nothing to do with the road, except that the homeowners association has to be in place. That's the only thing that would have to do with the road.
That's correct. It's a requirement of us accepting the road is that this
Right.
homeowners association is in
But the
place. But
homeowners-
what I don't want is for them to be on the hook then because it hasn't been cleaned.
Right, no,
To do
but
it.
I
To
understand.
do that. That's all. Like doing it that early.
And
Right.
I understand Ali's, I mean, the idea would be to clean it out, as close to when it's going to be the town's responsibility as possible. You don't want to clean it every year, and it gets dirty and then you have to clean it again, I mean, I understand what he's trying to do. I mean, I think that's what everybody does when they're getting their road accepted, but I just think we need to somehow get past this block, I don't think that the homeowners are going to want to get their homeowners association rolling before they see some activity getting the drainage cleaned out so they could accept it. I think we're sort of at this circle, we're sort of.
Raj,
Mark, we are talking two different things. One is the homeowners association and the other one is acceptance of the road by the town. So the homeowners association and acceptance of road, is there any connection? So the homeowners association, they set up the homeowners association, they keep it. And they know they have the officers on the homeowners association. Until the town, as he said, until the town accepts the road, is that the homeowners association don't have to do anything, right?
I don't know.
No,
I
right.
don't know the answer to that.
Well, that's what I was saying. We need to go to town council and find out if there's wording in the homeowners association that says, because everything is the way it's worded. The original document was approved by town council, whatever it was, 10 years ago or so. But now we want to see how that wording is interpreted or what town council believes will occur with these conditions, that the homeowner, it hasn't been established. There are no trustees besides the developer. And what does the town council believe is the next step to be taken, and how can we assure or make it desirable or understandable for the homeowners before a meeting with the developer to establish what's going to happen with the homeowners association. So we need something from town council before we set that meeting for the homeowners association, so that we really have answers and know how to proceed, as opposed to what I think may be great, but it may not be legal. So we want to get a lawyer involved to know what is real.
Agree. Do we have a copy of the homeowners association?
It's on record.
I know we have multiple copies of things, and is it possible for you to email email us so we have the most
Yeah.
current one, so that we're all looking at the same things?
Right. And the transfer, like the document, like what they're going to sign, I think is what would be really beneficial.
I've
Sure.
done it before, I'll do it again.
Okay.
I'm sure you have. I know. There's a lot of emails with newest circle in it.
That's right.
I-
That's
I
right.
have a question too then for Mr. Ali, if you're planning on doing all the construction in spring, do you know what time it would be completed? So then you could get on the May warrant, I'm assuming?
I think let's talk about next week meeting. Let's set up a meeting and then go
Miss-
from there.
Mr. Ali, I don't want to speak for everyone, but we're a busy family. A week's notice is, I would say push it out a month, maybe.
Yeah,
we-
no, I'm not sure about a week.
That's fine.
Town council
Yeah,
was
we
not
need
gonna
a little
respond
bit
that
more
quickly.
time.
Yeah, so we want the documents. We'll get our town council to explain exactly what needs to happen and what the homeowners will be responsible for at the time of signing. That's, I mean, I think that's the key here, right? They're worried about signing something now when the drainage is not clean and then being responsible for it. Does that make sense? And that's what they want assurance that that is not going to be the case. Go ahead.
In 2019, the catch basins were clean. Before we had the problem of that shed on lot 1, it was cleaned up. In 2019, I have record that catch basins were clean. Detention pond was completed in 2019 because the grade and everything was fixed up. So by someone telling me that nothing has been done in all these years, that's wrong. The detention pond was done in 2019. I have record of it, that we respread everything. Yeah, it has not been cut since then. We are starting to do all the detention ponds now. We did.
Well, she
I'm
said-
aware of that.
she said 3 years, and 22 minus 19 is 3. So that's exactly accurate. So I would propose that we move forward here with you send us the documents.
Yeah,
We will get our town council to be able to give an interpretation that the homeowners can understand. Again, we are ignoring lots 1 and 2, which is honestly partly what made this such a longer process than it probably needed to be, right? But we're ignoring that now. We're just going with the existing lots that are in the existing HOA. We'll get that interpretation. We'll set up a meeting with the residents and with Mr. Ali and with members of the planning board at the town hall. And I do think, like, let's try to aim for that to be like a month from now.
Okay.
Okay.
You want to set up a date?
I'm a little I'm a little nervous about committing just because I don't know what the town council's, turnaround is going to be.
Sarah,
Yes. Mr.
why
Femia.
can you have set it up for your next planned planning board meeting?
Well, I don't think we want to do it at the planning board meeting. So we could say that we'd like to do it before the next planning board meeting.
But like you said, with town council, you never know how long that's going to take. So I'm thinking that if you planned it for your next planning board meeting, that's a month. So that should give town council sufficient time to do what they need to do and get back to you.
But I think
So that you can review it.
what I'd really like to, but it's not, I mean, it's not really between us is the thing, right? This transfer does not really concern the planning board. It's between the homeowners and Mr. Ali. We just need to know that it's in place so that we can check that box on the street acceptance procedures. What we're trying to do is broker something so that everybody can move forward. So I'd rather not spend public meeting time doing that. I would prefer to get that done ahead of time. So I mean, ideally, we can come back to our next public meeting and say the HOA process has been completed. That's the goal. Does that sound good to everybody?
Can I make a comment about the road acceptance?
Sure.
Okay, the comment that I would make on the road acceptance is that, and I agree with what Mr. Vignali said about, but what as a resident going to town meeting, there's a couple of things I would be looking for. First of all, I'd be looking for the acceptance of the DPW director saying, oh, yes, this road does meet the state.
Yep. Oh, you're breaking up a little
Two,
bit
I
there,
would-
David. But yes, that is quite, you were going with DPW director. That is part of the road acceptance procedures. That's what generated the punch list that we have.
Do we have a letter from DPW that he is accepting, he's okay with the punch list?
They work together with VHB to create the punch list. The punch list that you've been given is the punch list.
Okay.
Yep. He
Okay.
sent an email in response to our request for that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just making a note for myself. Okay. Anything else on Newhouse Circle at this time?
Okay, I'm sorry, but I keep.
It's
getting-
okay, David. All I wanted to say is that the DPW, absolutely, that's part of the road acceptance procedures. Everybody's super aware of that. He was part of the punch list process, so we're all on top of that.
Like I said, but as a resident, those are the things that I would be asking at town meeting, you know?
Sure.
And if the planning board doesn't send a positive recommendation, then there's no way, at least in my opinion, there's no way the town meeting is going to approve this.
It's not going to get to town meeting unless we give it a positive recommendation. So
And the
So
earliest that this
that's
is going to
fine.
happen is May of next year, correct?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I would to say I believe that the planning board is not going to advocate for not accepting the road. We'll keep working until we can accept the road. I
Absolutely.
mean, I think that's the way we do this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Any other questions on Newhouse? Comments? Excellent. All right, let's close this one up. Jackie, thank you as always for being here and representing the residents, and Mr. Ali for being here to answer all the questions. Let us move on. So we have Century, okay, wait.
Oh, Westland
No,
Circle.
sorry, I'm sorry. This was as we were talking, I was searching in my emails for things and I brought up an agenda that is not today's. Okay, Westland Circle. Outstanding issues. Fencing, HOA pathway. What's our update, Mr. Ali?
On the HOA, I had to work with the homeowners and I had to finalize that thing, which has not been done because they were waiting for the sewer. The sewer problem was gone. Now the
Right.
drainage, they had to accept it. And in good faith, I started doing the detention pond today, putting the fence in. They are doing
Okay.
the fence in so that they don't have to bear another winter. I cleaned up the detention pond. I think they started cleaning up the detention pond 2 weeks back. I'm trying to finish everything and in good faith, hopefully I'll get it done.
Excellent.
I see some
That's
of the
great.
neighbors are
I was
there.
gonna say that's good news about the HOA. I'm glad because I mean that was a complicated one, getting that
Yeah.
since it
I had
wasn't
to
on their
work on it.
deeds.
I had to work on it, talk to the neighbors. Still, it's not finalized, but it will be done,
Okay,
hopefully.
so other board members, questions?
Do you think it will go to next town meeting?
April, next year meeting, yeah. Spring meeting.
Okay,
So maybe both of your road acceptances will be at the same meeting if things go well.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good meeting.
excellent. That's something
Well,
to shoot
good.
for.
Did you say,
Other-
did the sewer get
Oh,
accepted by
hang
the
on,
town?
Can you state who
Yes, it
you
did.
are?
Yeah, this is Sam Coons, 29 Westland Circle.
Thank you.
Did you say that the sewer was accepted by the town?
That's been resolved, I believe.
Okay,
No.
I didn't know.
No,
No,
it's
it has
not
not been
resolved.
But I
accepted
don't-
by,
I-
nothing on Westland Circle has been accepted by the town, but there is a commitment from the sewer commissioners to accept,
Accepted.
Is there someone else out
Right.
there?
I think the change has been to put that as part of the road acceptance includes the sewer as opposed to before when it didn't include sewer. I think that's been aided to in your favor.
Okay.
Sorry. So that's good news. I think that's good news. Other questions actually from the homeowners, or since we went that direction?
Yeah, this is Dan Coons again. I guess since since the HOA wasn't brought up when we bought our house, how does it work from here? And like, what does that entail for us as homeowners if we form an association? I'm just not familiar with what that is exactly.
Mr. Ali, I'm hoping your attorney has gotten some information about how to execute this at this point.
I think he has that situation. He hasn't got back with the final number on it. I had to work with the neighborhood people, Westland Circle people, work with them to see if they can accept it. Just the drainage part, because drainage part is part of the association, which was recorded later on.
So does it have to be recorded as part of their deeds?
It's
And I mean, I
already
think that's
recorded
part.
now.
I don't, at Westland Circle, I didn't think it was on their deeds. It's on the whole property deed, the old whole property before it was divided. But I don't know that it was included in each of the subdivided parcel deeds. So
Right.
that's why it's questionable.
That's a legal question.
Correct.
Yes, it is,
Correct.
but the idea is that we want it, they're moving towards getting an agreement and making it happen. You have a draft of the wording. I would suggest you send the draft or what's written in there right now, send that to them and explain to them what's involved. And it's basically the same document as we're talking about with Newest Circle, is to maintain the drainage system that's outside of the right of way of the roadway.
Right. I mean, they should be the same thing, except different property references, right?
I'll work with the, what I'll do
I think
is,
there's,
yeah, go ahead.
I
Hi, this
think
is
there's-
Diane Bashaw, number 32 Westland Circle.
Why does this always happen, Connor?
Can you hear me?
I'm doing
Yes,
Yes.
we hear you,
Yeah.
Diane.
Okay,
Melanie, you might want to mute.
Sorry.
so a couple questions. First of all, when most of us purchased our properties, we were unaware of any kind of an association at all. And we've each reached out to our individual closing attorneys, and there is nothing on our deeds about an association at all. And obviously this came to fruition much later after we were here for almost well over a year. But there's also not only the issue with the street and the sewer and all that, but there's the walking path that is definitely a problem that I don't believe, I can't speak for anyone else, but I don't believe anyone else would want to take on the responsibility and the liability if someone were to be injured on that walking path. So I think there's a lot more to be done as far as the wordage with this association to get everybody on board, because in my assumption, everyone has to sign for there to be an association. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the difference between us and Nuha is they all agreed to something that they thought they were agreeing upon. We never agreed upon anything. We never signed anything. None of us. So, and then there's also one other house in this circle that is not part of the original plan that I think, again, not speaking for everyone, but as far as we are concerned, we would want everything to be divided up equally between 9 homes and not 8, where there's a 9th home on the circle.
I think the 9th house, can I answer through the chair?
Sure, please do, because I have no information on this.
The answer to the 9th house is it was a A&R lot Later on, it was subdivided, and it was not on the plan. As per all the other plans were deeded according to the approval of planning board decision. Basically, that's the only document which was recorded before us, I believe. So ninth house, I think we can ask them if they want to join the association, because
Oh,
I don't know if they are willing to do it. I'll check with them in email. Go ahead.
Okay.
okay. Ali, you're locking up.
I think he's okay now. I'm other thoughts from the board. I'm not entirely sure how to proceed with them. Obviously, this homeowners association is the big and the
Yeah.
walking path. The walking path, Vinny, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Oh, yeah. The idea is that there's probably, again, going to be questions go to town council for the town. The walking path is one of them. If there are other sticky issues or sticking issues between the homeowners and Mr. Ali that we want to get addressed by town council, it would probably be best to make a list of all those things and submit that to the planning board. We'll consider what we can answer, and then other things we would send to town council. But we could send it a little bit at a time over to town council, but it gets expensive. They look at it and then charge you for all the time to get acquainted with it. So I would recommend that you put together a list of all the issues that might come up or that there are concerns with. Some the planning board probably can answer, some we won't, and we'll send those others off to town council and get a legal determination.
Thank you, Vinny. I can set up a meeting with all the neighborhood people, make everything listed, the concerns and other stuff, and I'll present it to you for the next meeting if I can get a meeting done with those people. I'll try to contact them this week.
And the actual legal documents that, you know,
Yeah.
everybody's going to sign and all that would be great.
Yeah.
Mark?
Yeah, I'm wondering if I understand this sort of correctly. That the permit that we approved is with apparently 8 houses of the 9 that are on the street, which is, so those are the only, so that's our requirement, is our permit is about those 8 houses. The other half of that is our permit requires for street acceptance, a homeowners association. So, I mean, there's kind of a disconnect that the original sale didn't include talking about it, but I guess Ali just has to make it somehow beneficial or whatever, easy for the homeowners to join after the fact. Yeah, you know, I mean, it just has to be arranged, because I don't know if we can accept a road without something maintaining the drainage, and that would be the homeowners association. So there would be sort of a disconnect that we can't, as the planning board, we can't go to the town and say that this is all set without a homeowners association. So I think we have sort of a little bit of a problem that may be more of a legal issue than a real issue. You know, I mean, the homeowners association can be formed, but the requirements on the deeds or whatever
Well,
need to be put
also,
in place.
if I may, when we did, after we were here for about a year, we finally received some documentation about an association, and that involved the homeowners being responsible for the sewer. So I believe that a whole new association, I'm not a legal person, but would have to be written up with the correct wordage for anyone to even consider it.
Yeah, I don't think that's in it anymore. I think the town has accepted responsibility for the sewer once the road is accepted. So I don't think
I think that's right, but
that's-
I think it's correct that we haven't seen any updated documents.
Right, but I
Vinny?
think we as homeowners need to see documentation on that.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
I mean, so the meet,
Sorry.
as far as the meeting, I mean, all of our meeting minutes and things like that are out there. So it is documented that the town is okay, like the sewer is not going to be the responsibility of the homeowners association. that's all documented in meeting minutes. So, but the homeowners association documents must then be updated to ensure that that is not a line item that you are responsible for in there. And all of you as homeowners should get to review that. Vinny.
Right. Well, right now we're still dealing with what was the approved plan from however many years ago when it was approved. We need to get something submitted to the planning board to make changes. Planning board is obviously willing to make those changes. The carrot for the homeowners to join and be part of this homeowners association is basically the same as the one that is in front of the newer circle property owners. Is the idea that the town needs the homeowners association for them to accept the road. So that is really what's pushing you. You need to figure out what the issues are that you don't like. Some you're going to end up having to deal with. Others we may be able to adjust, but we need a list of what the issues are and have our town council address things that we can address. And then we just have to sometimes just deal with the ones that we have to deal with. You're going to have to deal with maintenance of the detention basins and maintenance of all the stormwater treatment units there. That's just something that's not going to go away. The pathway right now, homeowners are responsible for that. It could be changed out like the sewer was changed out, but it would take a process similar to what was done to get the sewer taken out. It would have to go to possibly Parks, the DPW, and the town and the Board of Selectmen.
Okay, because
But-
I have a feeling that, speaking to other neighbors, and again, I can't speak for anyone else, but that, you know, the maintenance of the catch basins, that's, that's fine. But the walking path is not.
Well, I hear what you're saying. I hear exactly what you're saying, but we can't go back and forth on it here. We want to get people involved to see what the whole list is. It was part of the approval, but it doesn't mean that it can't be changed. That's what I'm saying. And
Okay.
if it turns out that it can't be changed, that the legal people say it cannot be changed, then the homeowners association either decides to accept it or not accept it. And if they don't accept it and don't create a homeowners association, then you have to establish some way of getting your road plowed and taken care of because the town's not going to accept the road. Does that kind of make sense? I mean, it's.
Well, no, so that would mean that Mr. Ali continues to own the road?
Well, it would mean that Mr. Ali's company is responsible, but there are times when I've seen those companies go bankrupt and then there's no one to fall back on and then the homeowners are stuck with it. So don't count on it going that way. Mr. Ali has been agreeable. He's been working with the town, albeit longer than we wanted. He's still in the game and he's still willing to work with us. So I appreciate that. And the town appreciates that. But we can't really push too hard.
Okay. Other comments on Westland Circle? Okay, let's move on. Thank you again, residents who were here to represent, and Mr. Ali for giving us the update. We hope that we all hear something, and you know, I mean, as soon as possible, get us these documents so that we can send them on to town council so we can get some advice, and that way we'll be able to move forward.
Thank you.
May I
Okay.
make one comment?
Sure. Can you just state your name and your address for the record?
Sure. It's Marginelli at 33 Westland. I believe when Ali started this conversation about Westland, he said he's been in communication with the neighbors. And I don't believe that's to be true. And that he's been speaking to us about the association.
No, what I was trying to tell was I had to work with the neighbors to get this thing done. So I'll have a meeting with all the neighbors. We can get together and decide, make a list, bring it to the next meeting so that the town council can have their own answers and we should be in a good shape. And again, I told that I'm in good faith. I'm working on the road, started working on the detention pond, and we cleaned up the detention pond. That's all we did.
Right. I mean, and ideally, you could have this meeting and send us the list and the documents, and we could get that to town council ahead of next meeting so we can have a more productive time when we're here about what is remaining and what needs to be done, so that we can get ourselves on to May town meeting to get this accepted.
Right. And if I just, we have a few homeowners here, so that's good. You may want to just put your heads together and come up with a list before you even have the meeting. Be kind of organized, plan what you're going to ask for, see what your concerns are, see if everybody in the community has the same concerns, or some people may be aware of some things that others are not. So get everybody thinking the same ideas, and then you meet with Mr. Ali, and then hopefully we all move forward.
Okay.
Excellent. All right, let's move on from this one. Thank you again for the residents and Mr. Ali for the Westland Circle updates.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to a discussion item about 152 Prospect Street. Jeff Turgeon is here to talk about just some potential ideas for that property. So this is just a discussion that we're having here. And Jeff, I will let you take it away. You
Awesome.
You should be able to share your screen. If you can't,
can
let me
folks
know,
see that
but
now?
Yep, there we go.
Nice. Great. So yeah, so our organization is in kind of preliminary talks with the seller, and before we get too far down the road, we wanted to check in with the town to see if we're kind of in the ballpark, or if folks think like it's not a great fit, and in that case, we won't waste time and energy, right? So I appreciate you taking some time to have me on the agenda. I'll move right along. Feel free to just jump in with any questions you might have. The first thing is in talking about the foundation. I'm trying to see if I can get my screen to advance here. Hold on a second.
Yeah, I guess I've got a question as we proceed. Have you looked at the deed to see if there were restrictions on the property that are separate from?
Yeah, the only deed restrictions that we can see is it is 61A. Most of the property is 61A. So the property itself is made up of 3 different parcels. There's 2 that are that look like they're individual home lots, and then the third one is 61A land. That's a more substantial part of the lot. That includes the pond area as well. So in terms of
okay, just so you know, when I was drafting the open space and recreation plan, there was discussions about putting a walking trail on that property from the property on Goodale Street that the town owns. And we were told that there was and I think I thought I found the watershed protection restriction, or whatever, it's something that DCR owns, a restriction on that property that doesn't afford any alterations. So we weren't even allowed to put a walking trail on there. So you may want to, before you go spend a lot of money on designs and things, make sure that you're even able to use it for deed restrictions.
So it's fair to say, hey, whatever we discussed tonight is dependent also on that discussion and that follow-up, and I'll certainly do that. The seller, apparently the seller is like, they've inherited this property, so they didn't know much about it. I didn't see anything on the MLS listing or any of the property items that they've given us so far. So I'll keep digging though. But just in terms of, and I guess what I'm saying is, hey, after tonight, I'll do more due diligence, but it may be moot if you guys feel like it's not really gonna work out. So the organization that we're talking about here, it's the Worcester Sports Foundation. We're a grassroots organization. We're not very large in scope. We're a fairly quiet organization. It's basically we did form in 2004. We are federally recognized as a 501c3. And we're basically here to support the growth of mainly uncommon sports. So, we're not out there kind of working with groups that already have a lot of institutional support. We're there to be the backbone for groups, and you'll see in a second here, like men's and women's rugby, youth rugby, hurling, and disc golf. So these are kind of niche sports, if you will, not super well, funded, or not a whole lot of institutional background for them. So, as an entity, we've come together to try and work together on, hey, promoting these sports, getting people involved. We help the groups get field permits or get better rates for field permits. We organize special events and fundraising. And so we're basically here to help kind of coordinate on their behalf to help the sports grow. And so, along with growing the sports, one of the things is right now these sports are bouncing around mainly in Worcester, in the city proper, from field to field. They might be bumped from week to week or from season to season, depending on what's happening. They don't have, while they've been around for a while, the city's priorities are mainly on the established youth sports. And so it's kind of been difficult to get, a firm foothold. And really just the way that they see moving forward, the way they grow their sports is to go ahead and have kind of a home place, a place that they can, hang their hat and call home, and invest the limited resources that we've put together for it. So in terms of the property, this is a kind of, and I'll call up a kind of a project map concept map that we came up with, but it is the 26 acres. I'll definitely need to do more research on the DCR aspect. We did see that most of it is chapter 61. We'd also seen in the next slide, or when we pull up the project concept, I'll show you where, we did do some research on where wetlands were and where the flood zones are and things. So I do have some information on that at least. But our plan would be to revise chapter 61A to chapter 61B, which is basically from agricultural use to nonprofit recreation. And again, we are talking nonprofit here, so I don't want you to get in your heads that this is some major field complex that's coming in. What we're talking about is a very kind of low key, smaller type entity. All grass. There's no plans. Rugby, while it can be technically played on, and hurling can be played on artificial turf, no one likes to do that. They're contact sports. Grass, natural grass would be the preferred, and that's certainly more within our budgets. So we are looking to keep them all athletics. Any kind of parking areas, and we did want to take note of, hey, we know that there'd be on, at any one time, the most cars we would think that would ever be there would be, 75 or so. But we want to have parking for close to 100 cars total on the 3 properties. But we would not want to do any kind of pavement. We're talking about using natural, gravel and dirt and grass parking areas. So just again, kind of want you to kind of have a sense of the scope of what we're talking about and the type of project we're talking about. I'll share with you the concept outline, which kind of talks about or marks out where we might kind of establish some walkway. Again, we're talking gravel or dirt pathways more than any kind of no pavement would be used for those as well. In talking with some town folks and looking at the map, it looks like to be like a 100-year flood zone. And so, we would work with the town to make sure that we can, however we could, within our means, strengthen anti-flood measures. I did some basic research on like the FEMA and the MEMA websites, and it looks like, hey, there are a lot of nature-based solutions, such as vegetated swales that we could look to, use, earthworks and that type of thing. To try to help control. I'm assuming what happens is the lower end of Prospect Street, where it abuts the property, is in that flood zone, and the roadway must get at times maybe impassable. So we would look to kind of strengthen that area, work with you. Maybe there's some grants we could get. It's funny that you had mentioned the DCR restrictions around like walking trails, because we would want to establish some trails in there for walking or fitness. We'd love to put in maybe a disc golf loop, which would be another amenity to the area. And those are all consistent with passive recreation. So, again, just the tenor and tone here is these are not like quote unquote commercial recreation. From our point of view, these are all nonprofit recreational uses. And that's kind of where it gets into the discussion with you all tonight, right? So one thing that we did want to look at potentially is, it does have the property does have the 3 areas is taking, there's enough room potentially in the middle parcel of carving out a like 45,000, 40 something thousand square foot lot that might be sold off in order to give us some additional working capital to make improvements to the facilities and to the property. That's nothing that's set in stone. It's just a potential future idea. But I want to kind of, in the interest of full disclosure, just kind of share that with you. So, putting our best foot forward here, let me share what we saw as some, potential benefits to the town. Hey, this would keep this parcel, open and green. If you know the property right now, there is a facility on there that looks to be totally abandoned, kind of unsafe. It's not even secured. And so we'd be working to get rid of the abandoned kind of house portion. And then there is a barn with some really, really good post and beam construction that we'd probably look to renovate to create a small kind of event space to do like cookouts and things that would be in association with the things happening on the field. So I'd mentioned about, the walking trails and disc golf that would kind of coincide with or kind of augment the main use, which would be putting in a couple grass athletic fields, which again would be amenities kind of available to town residents. We'd be looking at a very kind of low maintenance fee or something, mainly to cover any kind of liability. Certainly we need to kind of make sure that we're keeping maintenance up and stuff. So just to kind of offset those costs, but we're really talking about another affordable area that town sports groups could use, or scouts or whatever. Hey, and although we are talking modest numbers of visitors that would come in to play these sports on the weekends, again, very small in terms of at any one time or over the course of the weekends, they'd still be visitors to town that would be, gassing up at the gas station, going to have, dinner or, looking to do some sightseeing, maybe the husbands drop off the wives to play women's rugby and they're going out for a beer in town, or maybe the women are dropping off the men and vice versa. Right. So, hey, spending some visitors to the town. And then, having again been told that there is a bit of concern about the potential for flooding out of the pond area and stream, we'd be a partner with you to look at what we can do to mitigate that. Right. So what I'm going to do now is stop sharing that document and share the actual concept. And again, this is just, nothing super fancy, but so up in the orange line represents the total outline of the 3 parcels together. And this blue rectangle up here is already an open, overgrown field. It's got a lot of brambles. Most of it is all invasive species. So we're talking bittersweet, honeysuckle, and brambles. So what we'd be looking to do is go in there.
I don't see anything.
Oh, folks can't see this?
I can see it. I am seeing it.
Oh, hold on. Okay, keep going.
Okay, so, well, just to describe it for you, in the upper portion of the lot, there is an open field area. It's just way overgrown. So we'd be looking to take out the brambles, do some additional leveling, and planting grass, athletic, grass. We envision probably having enough room for 2 fields, maybe 2.5 fields there. That would give us the opportunity to kind of rest them and keep them rotated. Mainly we're going to be using these early evenings, after school early evenings, a few days a week, and on weekends. And on weekends, no one's talking about putting in lights. If that ever would be on the table, that would be something we'd come separately to the town with. But we're just talking, so we're talking, on the weekends, staying within those kind of general hours of like 9 to 5, 9 to 6, right? During the summertime, we're not going, beyond that. But you could see on this map here, I did mark out, there is already a dirt road that goes in above the pond or below the pond on the screen. So between the athletic fields, Mark, since I don't think you can see it, between the athletic fields, there is kind of a valley.
I can see it now. It's working.
Oh, okay. And you have the pond area, and that's within a wetlands area, which looks to be a wooded swamp, is what they call it, deciduous, which I believe is the type of tree, right? So, and then you could see the outline in yellow of the flood plain, of the flood zone. And again, that's a FEMA 0.2 annual chance flood hazard. Areas of 1% annual chance flood with an average depth of less than 1 foot, or with drainage areas of less than 1 square mile. So, we're a small organization, but we'd work with you to do what we can to put in, like I said, some sort of net, or if we got a grant to do something more grandiose, whatever we could do to work with you there to address that. We would envision, hey, if we had a parking area on the other side of the pond from the athletic fields, which is where the existing dirt road is, and there's a bit of a dirt kind of opening there, we would expand that to have that kind of be the main area for the athletic fields. And then, the initial thinking is, well, we'd work with you to put in, or we'd put in, but make sure it meets, what would be kind of necessary for the flood area, is that could be an elevated kind of dirt berm that would have a dirt walkway on top, a dirt pathway on top, and that would lead up to the field area. And then out of the valley where the water is moving past the parking, the parcel slopes back up to where the existing facilities are. So again, our thinking is we would keep that all open space, use the grass area for parking, knock down the existing house facility, which is in a real bad shape, use that for some additional parking that's off the main area of the street. So it looks like that's a private road there. And then try to rehab the barn where we could do some cookouts and that kind of thing. Small event type space. In the middle between the barn area is that second lot. The second lot does run currently all the way to the property boundary, but what we're suggesting is if we ever did want to sell it off or look to develop it as a residential property or parcel, we would keep an access from the parking area and the field area to our kind of additional parking and barn area. So that's the initial thought that we have. Again, we're small, we're all volunteers as an organization. We do have some, we have about 60 or 70 active players between probably about 100 active players if you count the youth. And then we have probably about 300 or 400 between former players and alumni and parents. And so we've been quietly fundraising for about 20 years now, and we have a little bit of a nest egg. And between that and a couple donors that might come on board with us, we think, a parcel that's on the market, this is on the market for, I think, $445 or somewhere around there. Depending on where we land with negotiations with them, we think it's within our price range. We also have some strong connections with like the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. One of their lieutenant colonels is actually a former player, and so you know, we also have strong connections. One of our members is an instructor up at Job Corps. Another one works at Monty Tech, and so I have some connections at Worcester Tech. So we're kind of hoping, hey, between, you know, as a nonprofit entity, take advantage of you know, some of these other community connections to draw on them to help get their support for things like, you know, putting in a disc golf course or walking trails. Would that be a great community service project for like the Job Corps kids or for the Monty Tech students? And they're like carpentry kids, you know, working on some of the benches and stuff. So, you know, again, we're a small organization. We're kind of some big ideas. And I think other than I really appreciate the advice to check with DCR, but the other big thing that we wanted to check with you first before we got serious about this parcel is, it's my understanding, it is zoned single residential. Single residential certainly can't be used for commercial recreation, but it seems like nonprofit recreation might be a bit of a gray area. And so we wanted to, again, come to you first to see if this is something you think we should pursue, or no, it's just not a good fit, you know, for what we're looking for. We don't want to waste anyone's time.
Except that I'm muted. I said, thanks, Jeff. Vinny, you got your hand up?
Yeah. In the 3 minutes it took me to go onto the Registry of Deeds, I found deed book page 19841, page 76, the restrictions that the DCR has on that property. It says no paths, no buildings, no alteration. So I love the ideas. As the Open Space Committee, I would love to have everything you're saying somewhere in town. I think it's a great idea to have that. I used to play rugby myself. I play all those strange sports. It was great. A lot of camaraderie. The trouble is I don't think you're going to be able to get a permit based on the deed restrictions that are on this property.
I can't thank you enough. As much as that's heartbreaking, it's also, I can't thank you enough, because I you know what I mean? If we came out of this meeting without that info and start talking to the seller, right? We're just, you know,
Wasting
It'd
money.
be horrible to learn that way down the line. So
Well,
is
I
that-
find
so
it hard to
deed-
believe that the
deed
seller's,
is-
the realtor isn't required to inform you of the limitations of the property. I mean, that, it's scary. It's on the assessor card. It says the
Okay.
DCR owns a restriction on it.
I
Well,
think, so I think, I mean, I just, there's been a lot of sudden interest in this property recently. And we all know that it has been for sale for
Well, multiple times is the issue. I think
multiple
someone
times.
buys it and
Yeah.
doesn't realize that the deed restriction is there, and then they think they're gonna get a bunch of lots or something on there and
Something.
nothing.
At any rate, it's just interesting that I don't know what's happened now that suddenly, like, there's a lot of people that are interested in it, that the marketing must be better, or they're not disclosing everything. Something's happening there, but I think that's kind of interesting.
Well, again, I mean, I'm happy that, you know, you brought this to our attention so early in the process, compared to us finding it later, and appreciate that. Hey, if nothing
Yeah.
else, you've seen what we're about. We are looking for land that would support a couple fields and some sort of kind of quote unquote clubhouse, or at least maybe a pavilion. Again, nothing too fancy, about 7 or 8 acres to 12, 13 acres is probably what we actually need. But as you can see, there's probably, most properties have wetland areas or something that's unusable. So we need that kind of usable, 7 or 8 usable acres. Ideally, it's already somewhat kind of open like this is. So if you know of any other properties, I'd love to, you know, connect. You know, maybe it's something that pops up in a couple months or whatever. You know, please just, if nothing else, remember, you know, that we're out there and looking to partner with a community that thinks this would be, you know, helpful for their residents.
Well, it's just, so you mentioned that the DCR does own property up the hill on the other side of the golf course. If you go up Prospect Street to the, where am I go, south, you go past the golf course, the DCR owns a bunch of upland there. It's right on Prospect Street. That would be really nice for this type of a situation. I know the town has tried to approach them, but as a nonprofit, you may have better political connections, better ties to make something happen so that there could be an acquisition. You could buy the property from them or have some cooperative agreement, possibly even work with the town, with the CPC, if they are asking for more money than what you guys have to offer, and it's something that's feasible for the town to buy into, to have like a cooperative agreement on that. I know our Parks Commission is looking for additional field space any chance they can, and that was an area that we were looking at in the Open Space Committee. It's in our Open Space and Rec Plan. So there are a whole bunch of different areas that are listed in our Space and Rec Plan that would be helped by a cooperative agreement with a nonprofit, possibly.
Who should I reach out to, like town recreation director, or is that a committee? Or?
Right now, you can read the Open Space and Recreation Plan right on the town's website. If you go into the Open Space Implementation Committee's site and you just look up the Open Space and Recreation Plan, and it has a list of the properties of interest, and you can see those and what's being considered in those areas.
Excellent.
And most towns have that as well.
Yeah.
Mark.
I was just gonna, I mean, it might not go here, but I'm just wondering what your, like, if it's not purely open to the public, how do people get access? Do they become members of the foundation or something? I'm curious if
we would just, we'd work with them to utilize it, make a donation to the foundation. They don't have to become, members or anything. They could just, basically sign the waiver. If it's a sports group, we'd ask for a certificate of insurance, and then we'd have a suggested donation for using it.
Okay, and then I would recommend, just like Vinny, to maybe the next meeting is with the DCR. I mean, maybe it is the Department of Conservation and Recreation. I mean, they might, help you out here somehow.
Sure.
Do you really think a DCR will sell it?
No. Oh.
Well, if you can go to the representatives and senators, if you do have people with connections, they're willing to pay for it. The difficulty with the town is the town doesn't always want to pay. They want to get something for free or make a deal for something that's not really worth it.
We never ask for free things. Come on. Don't slam.
It's good. I'm a town taxpayer.
I'll
I like that idea.
Follow up there.
Don't slam the town.
Yep. And Jeff, really, thank you for coming. I agree with Vinny. Also, I think more recreational space, open spaces for walking paths. I mean, disc golf, cool sports, all sounds like stuff that we would love to have around. So we hope
Melanie does have my contact information. Yeah, Melanie has my contact information. If any of you have any follow-up that you're able to send over, again, I really appreciate your time. And although again, this saved me in the long run, this saves me a lot of time. So I really do appreciate everyone and your input.
Excellent. All right. Well, thanks so much, Jeff. All right. Let's move on to the next one. We have the resident complaint about the odor from the mirror from 215 Shrewsbury Street.
Sounds like a job for the nasal ranger.
Well, I was going to say, so it's, that obviously is, that's actually, I mean, in the site plan review and everything that we approved, that was the purpose of that item. It was both to protect the residents and to protect the business. George, I understand you. So actually, before we even start here, I appreciate that this correspondence came into us, but as the planning board, I mean, we the certificate of completion and everything, like all of that stuff has been done at this point. What do we have to do with this? Is my question to my fellow board members before we start.
The thing is, we did mention to them, the planning board did promise to them, or given assurance when the facilities was built. We said that there shouldn't be any smell or odor emitting from that place. So that's why, one of those places, they did give us the smell detecting machine. So that's the reason, my understanding, that's why they are saying, hey, you are the planning board, you give the permit. Now I am seeing the smell. What do we do? So we can always say, yes, planning board approved it. Planning board said this. That's the way the developers or the project guys told us. But at the same time, when the project is done, it's up to the building inspector who can oversees or who can enforce it. That's his, he did, in turn, we did send it to the building inspector. He did investigate, and we have the report. That's my understanding. I may be wrong. Maybe somebody can.
Mark, you got your hand up there.
Yeah, no, I think that it's absolutely correct that it has to go to the building inspector, but there's additional enforcement possible because it's also a state requirement that they control the smell.
Right.
So
but
if
not
George
us,
can't,
not us. I'm just saying,
no,
not
it's
us.
not the planning board at all. We just have to pass it along to zoning enforcement, and that's George. But he can then get the state to, talk about their license with them too. I mean, I think this one is easier to enforce or whatever. There's more power to enforce because it has to do with their license to operate, with the state,
Okay.
not just with the town.
Yeah, and I'm not sure you guys saw that George is having technical difficulties with his microphone. So I think we all got copied on an email. He sent out that he said he went using the nasal ranger. He went out with the nasal ranger and tested it.
Dave, I think you need to mute. You have two things going and you need to mute both. There you go. Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Vinny.
All right, so he went out there, checked the site with a nasal ranger, and there was very low, if almost not recorded responses when he was out there. So that was good that it's not constant. He said he spoke with, and correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, George, he spoke with the owners and they weren't aware of any problems. But then we got an email from the assistant assessors who'd been out to the site, who really smelled the same skunk smell, and they thought they drove over a skunk when they drove in, so that there appeared to be some issues occurring with the property. I think George was the one that kind of triggered that or encouraged that, because he CC'd her on the inquiry and she replied. So that was great, George. Thank you for doing that. But I think that was the summary, that there is an issue and it's specific to the time of day and operations that are occurring, but we just need to notify. And I think George is going to follow up and notify them that something more needs to be done.
So that seems fair. I mean, and it's, yes, George is, for those of us who can't see the chat, George is responding saying, yes, that what Vinny said was correct. As Mark stated too, there's state regulations about this. I do just want to remind people who might be listening just that obviously there's the possibility of the business. It is legal in the state for people to both possess and smoke and grow marijuana in their homes. And so, you may, I mean, I'm not pointing any fingers at neighbors or anything like that, but just, you may consider that it may not just be the business. It could be that, somebody 2 or 3 streets away, or, 2 houses away, is enjoying something on their back porch. Right. So just as a note, there's a multitude of things where, this could be happening. So Raj, did you want to say something?
I think, to resolve this. So I know that George did go there and he did visit it once. So the way I am thinking is, there may be a time when there is more activity or some other people going into the building, coming out of the building, or if they let it open the building for a while, so the smell gets out. And also the way the wind blows, that could be the one. They may be sitting outside and the wind blows. That may be the time, they may be smelling it. So resolve this, I could suggest our building inspector, maybe periodically, not on a everyday, periodically test it out. Say maybe a month or 3 months, maybe 1 or twice in a month, just to drive around and see, while he is driving around, maybe he could check it out by himself so that, we know it. So the town did the work, or the building inspector did the work, and, the smell is not from the facility, or the smell is not there when you visited it. So I think that may be one of the solutions I can think of. Other than that, we cannot sit there 24 hours and, looking at the smell.
Okay, so George is responding, saying that he's been in that area numerous times. He's rarely smelled anything. I mean, I've certainly driven by that plenty of times, and I've never smelled anything.
To your defense, I do go by that road, but my car window is closed. I go by every single day, at least twice. That's a route I go to my work. So, my window is closed. I never ever smelled it, not even a bit.
Yeah. Well, you better start opening your windows, Raj. So
yeah, I will do that. When I go by at 2:15, I will open the door.
I asked my husband to do it today, but he didn't end up going that way.
Yeah,
just to get some additional feedback. But oh well.
Yeah, I'm not going to open my door, but I will open the windows.
Mark,
have we asked them if they've had any events where they would have to open their, like an over temperature or something like that, where they would actually have to vent out? Have they had to do anything? Like, is there any reason that they might have done this once, or something like that?
sure.
I agree.
George agrees to continue to monitor.
Okay.
And
because I
mean, it sounds like what the residents are complaining about is pretty consistent, is what it sounds like. And I don't know. I mean, obviously some people are more sensitive to things than others too. So, I mean, that's the reason for having the nasal ranger, right? So, they were willing to purchase it. We wanted to have it. We'll just put it to use, and George will keep monitoring. And I mean,
also the assessor said, I think she was going out there pretty regularly to that area and would pay attention, but she noticed it. I guess sounds like she's got a more sensitive nose, because she definitely could smell something outside. So she said if she notices something, she's
an assessor.
Yep. Works for the town.
Oh, and she just happens to live there.
No, she was working and goes out to different locations, and she's around town a lot. So if she does go to this site or somewhere nearby, she's going to pay attention and report what she encounters.
Sure. I guess I didn't see that one. I only saw the more lengthy email from the resident, Carol Adams.
Okay. Yeah, no, it must have been something else.
Okay. Okay. Well, unless there's anything else on this matter, I think we'll move on to the rest of the agenda.
You got a reply from George before you close that out.
There we go. I see it. George says he will try to pinpoint specific times and see if there is a certain time when it occurs might have something to do with processing at certain times, which is perfectly understandable and certainly could be the case.
Yeah. Oh, but they still have to correct it.
Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, on George, on that note, I mean, where I work, there's a place around the corner, and when they just open their door to load a truck, I mean, it wafts out, gets in the truck, and when the truck comes to our place, I mean, the smell is strong and it travels a little bit. So it might be like when they're doing their deliveries or getting a delivery or something, they have to open a door, and that's what happens.
Sure. Okay. All righty. So let's move on then. Melanie, I think do we have some invoices? I'm sure we probably have some invoices, whatever those invoices are. We'll be happy to cover them. Oh, but I think you wanted us to tell Mr. Ali that he had to pay some more money.
Yes,
Thanks,
I
George.
did.
Have a
Yeah.
good night. Yep, I'm saying this out loud, and I'm remembering that I did not say that to him. So
Yeah.
we'll
I can email them for you.
Who
I
our
don't know if you
treasurer is
guys
on
wanted
top
to
of it.
pick-
Excellent.
I don't know if you want to pick a figure to,
Go
To-
more.
don't be, yeah, because like he's short, like say $131. I don't think we want to just get that. There's going to be more inspections, isn't there? There's going to be more bills coming in
Yeah.
or not?
sure, because we have to have finalized built and all that kind of stuff. So
And if we have
Oh.
town council getting involved, that usually
Yeah,
comes
that's
in.
true.
So if we can ask for $1,000, that would probably be good.
Okay.
Yep. let's do it.
Okay.
Sounds great.
I was wondering that.
Yeah.
You don't want to
Thank
nickel
you.
and dime them and have to call them all these times.
Well, that's
Exactly.
it. That's what I usually end up doing. Yeah. Everybody else has money. They're all set.
Okay.
Okay. All right. How about minutes from August 10th? Anybody have any comments about the minutes? Thought they were okay? All right. If there are any comments, I will accept a motion to approve them.
Motion to approve the minutes from August, whatever it was, 10th.
Yep, that's right.
Second.
Thank you.
Second.
Well, got it, Mark. All right, we'll do a roll call. Mark,
Yes.
Frank?
Yep.
Raj,
Yes.
Vinny,
Yes.
and I am also yes. All right. Our next meeting will be October 12th at 7 p.m. I would like, if it's okay with everybody, I would like to continue with the Zoom for now. I was lucky. My daughter's been sick the last several days, and I mean, it sounded like COVID. It seemed like it should be COVID. We kept testing her, and it finally wasn't COVID. And so I sent her to school today. I mean, she's improving, and it still wasn't COVID. So we're going with that.
What's that?
But at any rate, but in case it had been, I would have still been able to participate, even though I would be stuck here. And I think that since it's back to school and everything, this may be happening for a little while longer. So I think it makes sense to try to stick with Zoom to make sure people can still participate, even if they are sequestered to their houses.
We have declared
Yes,
an
Raj.
open meeting, So tomorrow, other parents will come back.
Right.
And just
Yeah.
on your operations for the Zoom meeting, is there a way for you as the host to automatically mute everybody? And then
That is a great question.
No.
I know there are different ways of doing it, but
There are.
something to
I mean,
think about. We don't need to do it in the meeting.
Yeah, I was
No.
going to say it depends on the security settings.
Administrator. I think it's an administrator one. So we
And I
cannot.
don't think that I have it. Yeah.
All right, well,
Yeah.
just something to ask in the future.
I don't know.
So the only person we need to mute it is David Femia,
Yeah.
right?
I can chat you and I can pin you, but I can't. I can chat you and pin you, but I can't seem to mute you. So,
Okay.
but that was a good question. Yeah, much appreciated. All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Have a second?
Second. Second.
Excellent. All right. Roll call. Mark,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
Raj,
Yes.
Vinny,
Yes.
and I am also a yes. Excellent.
All right. Have a good evening, everybody.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, folks.